welcome to another Marketing Corner Conversation episode. This is the number one episode, and today we're going to talk about Going Live, the new book of Christoph Trapp. And let's bring him to the screen. Okay, let me see if I can make it. Hello, Christoph. How are you?
We're off to a good start. The technology's working. Number one show. I appreciate it, man. That's awesome.
Yes. I made it. I made last Monday my episode number one, the pilot one. And today it's the number one. It's a pleasure to have you here. And for those of you who are watching us, welcome. If you are watching us on, hello, David. If you are watching us on other platforms which are not Amazon, I'm leaving you the link so you can join us here on Amazon. Okay, let me share it also on comments because it will be good to have you, all of you, on Amazon Live. And don't forget to follow, by the way, okay? If you're okay, there you go. Don't forget to follow me. There's this button here on Amazon Live if you are on desktop, and then it's down there on the cell phone. It seems that we are in the aircraft, so if you want to there and so welcome everybody. It's good to have you here again. I'm very excited to be in this platform and also to talk about this Christoph news. It's the fourth one, right?
I'm sorry, what? The first one?
The fourth.
Fourth book, you got it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I made my homeworks. Well, first of all, Christoph, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's again, it's always good to have nice people to talk about nice things, and your book is for sure and the timing is perfect. I think you nail it because live streaming is the thing, and also this audio content. It's amazing how it's growing. So it's very good to start talk about this and to bring a book. So when you started writing the book, first of all, I will ask you to introduce yourself so people can know who you are. I think first things first. Okay, let me change the layout. Okay, there you go.
You bet. Yeah, happy to jump in. So I'm a content marketer, content strategist, currently help Vox Pop Me. I'm their content strategy lead. And, how do you get in front of audiences? How do you stay in front of audiences? And how do you do that in whatever channels is currently relevant? And that's kind of what I focused on my whole career. Grew up as a journalist, so really heavy on the writing. In fact, you got to remember, this is how old I am. Back in the day, I wouldn't take photos. We didn't have phones. I had a cell phone. I called back into the office to say, hey, could you check my email for me, see if I got any emails? I mean, that's how old I am. But now basically, I'm trying to find ways to share authentic stories. And of course, very fortunate to do that with Vox Pop Me. It's a market research platform, out there, voxpopme.com. And, I write books every time I have something to say. I do blog. I have my own live stream, as you know. You've been on that show before as well. My own podcast, and very interested in how do we create the right amount of useful content without driving ourselves crazy. And I think doing podcasts and doing live streams has really helped make that easier. If you want it to be easier, I know some people love their processes, so you might have to rethink approval processes just a little bit.
Absolutely. So I think when you started writing your book, the Clubhouse was already the thing.
Yeah, so Clubhouse is mentioned in the book, of course, and currently my opinion on Clubhouse is interesting, because I always like to try new things, and I have tried Clubhouse, but Amazon Live has been really good to me. And some of these other channels have been really good to me. So I'm not really focusing any time on Clubhouse right now. And now, I don't know if you heard, but Twitter Spaces, right, is coming out. And the way I understand it, when Periscope goes away at the end of this month, Periscope, all the Periscope stuff will be integrated into Twitter Live, which you can then use on Twitter Spaces. So if that's true and that's going to happen, I'm not wasting any time on Clubhouse. Sorry. I'm waiting 2 more weeks, and I'm focusing on the other channels for now. Ask me again in a month, who knows? But today, that's kind of my opinion on it. Plus, it's not recorded, so if you miss it, it's
Yes.
and that's kind of, I know we're all talking about live, and I know you're out there live streaming, but people can watch your shows after the fact too. So and people do, right? I mean, I have some shows. I had one Amazon Live the other day. It had 2,000 viewers while we were live, and then it had 25,000 more after the fact. So, like, if that would have disappeared, I would have been stuck with 2,000, which is not horrible, but I'm just saying, do you know what I mean? It's
Yes,
you would
yes,
have missed a whole bunch of people.
absolutely. And this new Twitter thing, it's kind of ge- getting back to Blab days.
Oh. It's, I don't know how many people. I don't know how many people will understand that reference, but yeah, blab is interesting, right? It was people talking, and I think they saved it. I mean, it kind of came and died. Feels like the
Yes.
same day.
Well, almost. I guess they were there for 3 months or something, and it's where I started. And they had
Mhm.
this thing at the end of the show. You could download it, and two files,
Yeah.
like you can do, and audio was there. So I think it's good to, because I think one of the challenges about reusing content is the framing. Okay, I think it's one of the big challenges. Which recommendations do you have for people about framing before starting the go live button?
Yeah. So first of all, you want to so there's really a couple different ways to think about that. First of all, how do you want to look on camera, right? This is how I look on camera. I don't, I wear a t-shirt, I wear a hat, like I don't have any hair, so I don't necessarily want to show that off all the time. And this is how I look, right? That's kind of what I'm going for. So you want to think about that. How do you want to appear? What's your setup? And I'll give you an example. To make live streaming truly work, you want to be comfortable. So I got this new chair here. I got this wonderful mic. Now, I didn't start there. So if you're already thinking about, oh, I can't do it, I don't have a microphone. You don't need a microphone to get started. Like, I just started with my iPhone, my iPad, and I just recently upgraded, honestly, like a few months ago. So think about that. How can you be comfortable? I'm going to sit here all day working, whatever. I'm comfortable. I might stand up at some point, but so think about it that way. Then the next thing is, what content will actually work on all those different channels? So I was talking to Lyron Sege the other day, who's a YouTube growth strategist, and I said, I live stream to YouTube, and here's what I do. And I said, what do I do wrong? And he said, everything. And well, thanks for the honesty, and but YouTube is a different beast, right? The content I'm doing for Amazon, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., it doesn't work the same way on YouTube today, right? Might it change? Maybe. But if I want to think about how do I maximize YouTube more, I might have to think about repurposing my content differently. I'm not going to right now because I'm focusing on other things, but you kind of have to weigh those different things and see how much work it takes. So for now, for YouTube, I do appreciate his feedback. I think he's totally correct. But I think for now, I'm just going to keep streaming there, so at least it's there, and that's kind of how I think you get started. And I think the other trick is you just have to get started. I mean, if you keep, content that doesn't get published will never perform. Do you know what I mean? So you have to go live.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about Amazon Live, right? I mean, you episode 1, it's going to grow as you move forward, the different levels on Amazon Live and whatnot. But you wouldn't get there if you don't start. And maybe that's why Amazon has these rules that you have to live stream for however many hours before they even consider you to move up, because they want to make sure you prove that you're actually going to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, yesterday I was talking with someone else who has Amazon Live, and he was saying, "Well, I'm a little bit afraid." And I said, "Yes, because for instance, I made my first show on Monday, and someone throw me a stone, and there was someone hiding in the corner with a hand in his hand, and I was so scared. I think there's this situation people are, and I've heard also last week I was doing a training and someone was saying, "Oh, I'm afraid of this exposure because I don't know what people will say, and if I make a mistake." And everybody and this kind of mindset. And I say, "Okay, and what else? What if it's not the end of the world?" I think it's one of the big problems. This fear of exposure, of not being so good when you start, right?
Yeah, I mean, people need to put aside the whole fear of, being perfect. First of all, there's no such thing as being perfect anyways. Just be real. Just share your value. Don't try to play some crazy character that you're not. And the other thing is there's nothing to be afraid of. If people leave some crazy comment, just block them, just mute them. There's some guy who keeps coming on my shows and says some political crap. And like, we all have opinions, but this is not the place to talk about them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any political shows. So I don't, whatever, like, keep them to yourself. And if you keep pushing me, I'll block you. So don't overthink it. Just think of it. I still go back to Marcus Sheridan, who wrote The Visual Sale. And he says, just think of it as conversation. And that's what helped me. Like, granted, I'm staring at a 4K camera. I'm staring at a ring light. It's going to give me a headache if I have it on for 2 more hours. But at the end of the day, I really just think of it as having a conversation with you, even though I'm looking at the camera, not your actual picture, which is right here. The camera is right there.
Absolutely.
So, but on the other hand, it's I just think of it as a conversation, and be real. Don't am I good at this? No. I mean, I'm an introvert, guys. Seriously. And here's the definition. I just learned this the other day. An introvert doesn't mean you can't do lives. An introvert doesn't mean you can't do speaking engagements. Only thing it means is that it doesn't give you energy. So as much as I'm enjoying our talk, as much as I'm enjoying our chat, and of course, we both agreed to come on here, as an introvert, it doesn't give me energy, but it drains me, right? So if I have meetings all day long, every day, or I do live streams every day, all day long, I will be exhausted tonight. And that's so just as something to keep in mind. This whole thing about introverts not being able to do live streams, that's not how it works. Like, and that's not my definition. That's like the I don't know. I don't want to say clinical definition, but a doctor actually told me that. A PhD told me that that's what that actually is.
Absolutely, because I see myself also as an introvert, and it doesn't have it's not related, because, for instance, there are usually when I'm in offline context, people say, "Oh, you're not the same kind of person like you're on your live streams," because you seem well, because on a live stream you're here 1 hour, you're not the whole day here, so you can show another side of you, which is not that usual. I think it's something important. And also we have this progression thing, because some people think, okay, this guy felt here, it's the first live he's doing, it's the first time, and now he's so nice, so funny, and I'm not, and it's not the point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Just get going. Don't overthink it. I would recommend. I think it struck a chord a little bit when you said, it's just 1 hour. Like, you still want to be authentic, right? Don't. I mean, there's some shows people play characters, and if that's very clear, that's fine. But if who you are on a live stream is too far, too different from who you actually are, that can present problems too. Because I've had people, hire me, for example, and they fell in love with this guy, right? But like, I can't, like, this is me, but I can't be this animated for 10 hours a day.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So people are surprised sometimes that, oh my goodness, why is the guy so quiet? I saw a thing the other day, and I was described, it was in a meeting, neutral and pleasant or something. Do you know what I mean? So that's like the base. So just something to keep in mind that yes, you want to be yourself, but certainly there's another level of engagement when you come on these shows.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's very important to have this in mind. And for instance, I make this kind of disclaimer lots of times because so people when they get to know me on the offline world, they don't see such a difference, and at least they are aware that okay, this is kind of a side of me, but I have other sides like everyone else, right? So I think it's very important to have this in mind. And also, let's talk a little bit about the kinds of content we can share on live streaming, because I think it's one of the things very important, because there are so many ways to do this. Which recommendations do you have for people to have in mind? For instance, if they are starting, I'm starting on live stream world, which kind of content do you recommend, Christoph?
So I think the biggest thing is think about what is your brand? What are you trying to get across? Who's your brand? What do you do? You know, and I think the easiest way to start is to truly have some kind of live talk show, which is I think what most people do. So you and I were just talking. You know, you got some products up, you got my books up in your carousel on Amazon, and I'm not talking to you. And now my digital assistant is turning on here. I don't know why I didn't say anything to her, but basically that's one way to get started, and that's the best way to use this content as your podcast. So you could literally in StreamYard, right, which is what you use, and I use Switcher on my iPad. So same thing, you can do it in Restream, other channels, and you just other products, and you pull the audio from the conversation and turn it into a podcast. And that's kind of what I talk about in my book for the most part. The other way, depending what you do as a brand, consider other live streams. I'll give you an example. I have a robot vacuum cleaner, and I had to deal with them, right? Dream Tech. And I literally just let it clean, put a camera on top of the vacuum cleaner, and I let it drive around the house. And I live stream it to Amazon. And there's thousands of people watching it, Marco. Like, I don't know, like sometimes they ask a question. Sometimes people go, that's creepy. That's why I don't get one, because it monitors. I'm like, no, that's me. I did it on purpose. So, there's some other ways depending what your brand does. The other thing is I have this setup here, right? I got my mic, I got my chair, I got my desk, I got my camera, my ring light. So probably once we're done here, I'm going to set up my morning live stream for probably 3 hours. So I got about 3 hours of time where I can work, good solid time. I'll put the camera over there and it'll just stream me working to Amazon. And then on Amazon, people can buy the stuff around me. And it's so, but I title it my podcast and office setup. So it is still relevant to my podcast, but I wouldn't use it as a podcast, right? So just think about that on what else can you show? And I barely talk at all in those 3 hours. I'm working. And like sometimes if somebody will ask a question, I'll respond. Or if somebody says, hey, can you say something into the mic? I want to hear how it sounds. I'll go, okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. How does it sound? And they go, great. I'm getting it. But it's really just a stream of me working. They can't see what I'm working on, but it's so think about different ways on how to do live streaming. But if you're starting a podcast, do a live stream, seriously. And here's the reason why, because you're going to put all this time and effort into your podcast, and then you upload it to a new network and you have 20 downloads. Crazy, right? 20 downloads. And you did all this work for 20 downloads. Even if they're the right people, it's still not very many. So if you do a live stream, you stream to all these channels, right, that you've built over the last few years. And now you can get a little bit more bang out of your buck. And especially, and I know you do this too, with scheduling your live stream, it pushes it to LinkedIn, pushes it to YouTube. And I've seen on LinkedIn, especially, the scheduled post before you ever go live has hundreds of views. So you're already, you're already establishing some brand recognition, even if they don't watch the show. It's all helpful. It all comes together.
Absolutely. And one of the things I like to do also, and you saw it, I like to get the link for LinkedIn, because it's the main channel for me by these days. I use the thumbnail I created for the show, and then I schedule some posts on LinkedIn, and okay, let's promote it. And the other thing important, and I think it's also a problem, and it can because the imposter syndrome may hit you in this thing, because we see so many people talking about value content, create great content, value content, and I think we fall in this situation that we think that our good content should be all informative, educational, and it's not the point.
It's not the point that it should be informational.
No. For me, it's just one of the types of. But there are people which sell you that the idea that to be good, it should be only just informative or educational.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the biggest problem, honestly, is that companies just create content for the sake of creating content. And what you really need to think about is, how do you create something that's unique? That's not just to say. So, for example, if I'm going to write an article on the 10 ways to do better market research or whatever, like, I better have something good to say, like something unique to say about that. If I'm just regurgitating 10 things that other people have already said, like, who cares? Like, why do we need another art? Like in health, when I was in healthcare, I the one that always came about, and we just passed February. I didn't see as many articles this year, but every year people would write the 5 signs of a heart attack, or the 4 ways to stay healthy, keep your heart healthy, and whatever. And it's just too general. You have to have more specific. So when you said earlier, I mean, my eyes lit up probably. Even though I'm very neutral, as you know, but internally my eyes lit up when you said great timing on the book, because everybody's currently talking about podcasting and live streaming. So yes, right? See what I tried to do? What is something that's kind of unique that a lot of people aren't currently doing? Some people are doing it. I'm doing it. Fox Pop Me is doing it. There's others who are doing it. Jason Falls is doing it, who actually gave me the idea way back when he held up his iPad and said, "This is how I do it." I'm like, "Oh, really? Awesome. I'll try it." So, you have to have something unique to tell. And even if it's not highly unique, you have to have some personal story or something that's tied to it. Now, on the flip side, you want to be careful, because this is where you see when people do this badly, you see stories like this. They go, "I was walking my daughter to school, and as I saw 3 things driving by, I thought about how hot dogs can be marketed better." Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's totally a stretch. So, but you see those stories all the time, because people are trying it, but they're not quite there yet. So props for trying, but just something to keep in mind. Not everything fits, but find some unique personal angle for sure.
Absolutely. Very, very important. And also, let me think about something. Because yesterday I caught some of your conversation with Ross, and about this thing about how to think a little bit forward. Okay, I want to reuse this content, so I want to use it to a podcast. And because one of the things, one of the mistakes, and I also make, it's a recorded video. We don't go live. We record the video, and then it stays there on YouTube. We put the information, the description tags, and then it goes online, and we get the audio. And one of the things you mentioned was sometimes people don't read the comments loud. Some people approach, and sometimes it's useful content to the conversation, okay, which may help people, and we forgot this tiny things. And for instance, if we are doing multi-streaming, it also applies. When you should read the insightful contents, those who bring good questions, so people can know what are you answering to.
I'm a big fan. So I actually I'm a big fan of reading comments and responding to them for a number of reasons. First of all, it does engage with the audience that you have. So it depends, right? So Russ had, I don't know, a bunch of people saying hello,
Yeah.
like, and he knows it too. So he kind of welcomes some of them and he goes, I can't get to everybody, but hi everyone. So, but it's still kind of nice, because it's like social proof that people care about what's going on. And even on I wouldn't even cut that out on the podcast channel. Honestly, I would just keep it on there, unless it goes too far and too long. But if it's just like a little bit, and he doesn't do it at the beginning, he does it like in the middle sometime. So it's not like you have to wait. And if you could cut it for the podcast version too. But when people ask questions, I always read them. I say, oh, let's see. David on LinkedIn, his question is Marco really authentic? That's not his question, guys. His question was, Marco was authentic. But if he were to say that, right, I would read it out loud because, first of all, it promotes the live stream to the podcast audience because now they're reminded we're also live and they can connect, right? And people do kind of listen to that sometimes. And then the other thing is we're giving a shout out to David. And then finally, now let's talk about what he asked and we can talk about it. And once you get so many viewers that tune in, that you get so many questions, maybe that could be your whole show. Like you don't even have any starter questions. You just answer what the audience asks. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic way on StreamYard here. You can actually highlight them. I don't know how to do it because I'm not the producer, but you can actually show them on screen, I think. So that's another thing. Like if you use a tool that allows that, or setup that allows that, you can just pop. There you go. You can just pop it up. You put your own, but again, you can just pop it up, and then while we're talking about it, we can now talk about it while we have it in front of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, if you are watching us on Amazon Live, don't forget to follow. Okay, there's on that side. Okay, on top and down in the cell phone also. And if you are watching us in other platforms, please follow the link on comments. I'm always misspelling this to join us on Amazon Live, and then you can look at the new book of Christoph, which is an amazing book for you who want to start. And okay, maybe we can talk a little bit about this. We have some recommendations here about cameras, microphones, shares, and everything. But I think again, it's people should look at this as a stair, okay? And some people look at this like an unreachable mountain, okay? Because I have to invest so much money in this, and instead of making, and I did it purposely. I have different price range articles here, and I think it's very important. And by the way, which is more important when you are recording a video or making a live stream, but you have in mind also the podcast?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Marco. I'm shopping in your carousel. Green screens, lighting, awesome, good stuff. I need to think about getting a green screen. That's something I'm missing. So what you need to think about is think about the equipment, but I think the biggest thing is good audio, because I think especially on the podcast version, people are going to tune out horrible audio. And I see it all the time. So when I open up my podcast play in the morning, I got like 15 podcasts I could listen to. So I'm like, oh, I want to listen to this one. And the audio is horrible. I move on to the next one. The audio is horrible, move on. I only got so much time, especially today. So today I got a busy day editing audio, right? So I actually can't listen. So when I'm doing like analysis or whatever, emails or something like that, I can listen to a podcast, so I only have a limited amount of time today to actually listen. So I really discriminate against bad audio. Good video, I think, is easier and easier on it. And so let me talk about audio for another minute here. So the other thing is,
Yes.
you need, I mean, a mic like this works, but so does your iPhone. So do your AirPods. What I wouldn't recommend is to talking just to your computer. So my laptop is over here. Don't just sit here and talk to the laptop. That's not going to sound good, no matter how loud you are. It's not about how loud you are. In fact, Max Brandstatter reminds me, Christoph, stop yelling at your mic, right? Because you don't have to, because it's picking me up and it's set up to the right level and whatever. And then the next thing is get a good camera. And you can get new cameras. I mean, the one I got, I don't know, it's like $50. Yeah, I saw somebody the other day buy like, I don't know, $25,000 or something. So my point is, get those. You can start with the other equipment, just get started and then slowly upgrade and figure out how you're comfortable. There is research that standing is better when you're on lives. Now, I'm not standing right now because I like my framing better when I'm sitting down, but I do stand. So if this was audio only, I probably would have stood up, honestly. I just didn't want to bother moving the camera up and move, the mic comes with the desk, so it just goes up. But yeah, have an iPhone, get started, put on your AirPods, your earbuds if you don't have AirPods. And that's how I used to do it all the time. In fact, my first 200 some episodes, I did not, maybe more, I did not have this fancy equipment.
Neither do I. And mine is not that fancy.
Right, same here.
For instance, I started with a Logitech C920. Okay, by those days it was around $60. I bought also this Snowball Ice microphone, which was around the same price range, and I was use it with the tripod I bought with, and then I just bought the stand. And the stand, it's not that expensive, and neither the pop filter. Okay, so and I think it's fair enough. Then I upgraded my camera almost accidentally because I had this Canon DSLR, and when Canon brought this webcam utility, I thought, oh, good, now I can use, and that's just that. I didn't invest too much in this, and I'm looking here at the index of your book. And there's something that for me it's very important. It's to, and for some people it's one of the main problems. Which topic should I talk? How do I get good ideas? And it's one thing, and then how to frame it in something that people will want to listen, will want to watch. Because one thing, it's okay, I will talk about webcams, but convert this conversation in a triggering title. It's a challenge, right?
Oh my goodness. So I do have a whole chapter on how to write titles, as you know, and that is a challenge. And so first of all, my rule is under 10 words for sure, because if you don't make that guardrail, people are going to just keep going on and on and on and on. But you do want to be to the point, specific. Very few guests can get away with just saying a chat with Christoph. Like, who the heck is that? You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
I mean, even when I had Seth Godin on the show, I even then didn't say a chat with Seth Godin. I said something about creativity and Godin's new book. So, you want to be to the point. Also, do some keyword research. What terms are people using? What are they searching for? What might work, And that's, I think that's forgotten, not just in live streaming, but even content creation, that people do keyword research and see what words might work. Use active voice. I know this is kind of, very, very high level, but use active. Do you really need that word in there? Like some fluffy, fluff? I mean, you don't need that. So get to the point, and go from there. I don't know. What was the title of this show? Going live, live stream your podcast. I mean, I can't argue with that. That's a good title. But see what I'm saying? That's like, you're to the point. Like, here's what it's about. And people don't have time. People don't have time to guess. People don't have time for cutesy patootsy headlines that they have to go ask their spouse what that even means. Like, get to the point. That's, you can be creative, but you also want people to draw them in. But to get started, make a quick plan, know what you're going to talk about, know what your topic is, and then kind of circle around that topic. And this is another thing. Once you do it all the time, you can't just talk about your key points. Like, you know how marketers, they would create marketing materials and basically it would be they always repeat themselves, right? Because repetition does work. But in podcasting and live streaming, you can't just talk about the same thing over and over and over. You can talk about related things and then you kind of circle around the topic. But that's different from like traditional marketing. So just something to keep in mind. What's your core topic? How far are you willing to go out, especially once you have a lot of episodes? And at some point, it might be okay to sunset a specific live stream. I'll tell you this, it's not after 7 episodes or 20 episodes, maybe not even 40 episodes, because, it does take some time, like everything in life that's worth achieving. But definitely start from there and put some effort behind it and some continuity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we have Chris. Hello, Chris. Another Chris. Good to have you. Thank you. He's saying that it's a great advice. The topic, then the title, and I was looking to the index. I've seen something that resonates a lot with me, and I think also with you, Chris, which is bringing guests. I think it's one of the most interesting things and wise things to do. Do you want to talk a little bit about this particular topic?
Yeah, so I think bringing guests on the show is fantastic because, first of all, it gives you something to talk about. It's much easier to have a conversation with somebody else than just yourself, right? I mean, as much as we all like talking to ourselves at times. And then, so that's one thing. And the other thing is, there's a couple other things. First of all, it does help with networking. I mean, that's how you and I met. That's how I've met other people. I've reconnected with people, like, for example, Seth Godin was on my show, big marketing name, would I have had coffee with him? Probably not, right? Did he want to come on my show when I invited him? Yes. So like you meet new people. So it's just something, it's very, very helpful from that perspective. Once the show is live, guests also typically help you promote it. It's like conferences. I just had that conversation this morning. I actually wrote an article on conference images for speakers. So if I'm speaking at your conference and you create an image for me that I can use for promotion, right, send it to me. I'll promote it. Like I get something out of it too, and then the conference gets something out of it. Same applies for live streaming. So every time you put a guest picture on your logo, the whatever it was, marketing show, right? Which see, that's cute, but it's not cutesy patootsy. And the difference is cute is, it's creative and it makes sense, but I don't have to think about it. Now, if you would have made it much more complicated, Marco, then that would be a problem, right? But in this case, it works. So yeah, those are my tips really to get started and stick with it.
Okay, we have someone, Chris, started live streaming about a month ago. We wish you a good journey. I think you will enjoy it a lot because it's amazing. I remember the first time I was doing this, and people laugh at me because they thought, oh, this one wants to be a star. He doesn't have a life. He doesn't have to work. He. And then I think now people understands the power of this. How this, like you mentioned in the book, this allowed me to connect with people from so many places and build my brand, my authority. So I think it's good to think about things in a broader perspective and not just thinking about in the obvious. So yes, Chris is saying meeting a lot of people. Okay, if you want to share the link about your live stream, please feel free to do that because we would love to take a look. Okay, and getting back to the podcast, I think one of the things very important in the live stream is that you should put a little bit more of energy because you're not 3D like you are in person. So you need, and also you should have in mind this for podcasting because again, it's even worse when you just listening And if there's no there's extra doses of energy, uh, maybe people get bored and go away. Which advices do you have to this, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You got to, put some personality in it, and you got to remember it has to be somewhat entertaining too, right? So every once in a while, have a joke, or like when I said, "Oh, hold on, what, Marco? I'm currently shopping in your carousel." Like I was actually looking at stuff, but it's also meant to make it a little bit more fun. You know what I mean? Like we're not just so formal and stuffy and whatever. I don't speak too fast necessarily. Just your regular cadence. It's okay sometimes to have a pause. So I'll give you an example. So that pause felt like 80 hours in my mind. I mean, what did it even feel unnatural, Marco? Did you even catch it? Barely?
Yeah.
So, to the audience, some of those things that will feel weird to you, they won't even notice, for example. So just kind of keep going. Sometimes it's okay to think for a second. On podcast channels, as Scott Monty reminded me, is the podcast apps now trim out the silence automatically. So it's like, who cares? You don't even need to edit for the most part on some of the apps. But yeah, just kind of jump in, and be real, and make it fun. And certainly, you're going to grow as you do it. I mean, I certainly do more interesting things probably today than I did on the first few episodes. But definitely don't be too stiff, and make it interesting.
Absolutely. And I think there's this important thing when we are talking, when we want to reuse the audio content, and even when we are on the screen, which is the silence. Some people, and there's this. I made theater for a few years, and when you're starting and you have a big role to put in your mind, one of the mistakes you made is you try to speak that very fast, so you deliver the text and it's done, and it it it's a mistake, because usually uh, you get confused, and then you get even more confused, and then you get it, and it's a problem. One of the things I like to advise to people is breathe, because you need air. It's something, because as I said, and as we said before, we need this extra energy level. So you need air. And also, if you make these tone variations, it's also good to give more color to your conversation. And also, if you make a pause before you send an important message, you create the context to make them more dramatic, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's what I talk about when people say people have shorter attention spans. That's not necessarily incorrect. They do. But that doesn't mean everything has to be short. What it actually means is that you have to do something to get their attention every few seconds. So sometimes I raise my voice. Sometimes, I point. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I do something else. And that's kind of how I would recommend that you think about that. How do you keep people engaged? How do you make it fun? And sometimes that's with your voice, sometimes it's your inflection, sometimes it's telling a joke, or whatever, some of those things.
Yeah. By the way, about jokes, I had this conversation. It was 2 weeks ago, I think, with Alex B. Sheridan. He's an amazing content creator, mostly on LinkedIn. And I asked him, because his content is very funny, even though for me, even it's very insightful. He delivers this amazing message, but he's very funny. And sometimes we have this misconception that, okay, if you are too funny, you sound very unprofessional. Okay. And on the flip side, so many people think, oh, I'm not funny, I'm not entertaining, so I should not create this video or audio content. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always have to work on it. I mean, that's, telling jokes. Um, it's an interesting topic because so my podcast has been listened to in 100 countries, and I still 100 plus countries. So I still, I went to India a couple years ago and I spoke, and I'm like, Is this joke? Does this joke work? Does this joke work? Does this joke work? And you kind of have to figure that out. So you want to be cognizant of that. I think sometimes when you can see people, it's easier to understand what it is that they're trying to convey, right? So you can see if I'm joking or not, or if you're not laughing at my joke, I might just say, "Hey, that's a joke. Not funny. Is that not funny in Portugal? Why not? Tell me about the cultural differences, And that's actually an interesting discussion. And that's kind of what I did in India too. I said, "Oh, is that funny? Can I talk about walking on eggshells?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can." So think about that, but don't overdo it. But and it's, I mean, there's always somebody that's going to be offended by something anybody says, honestly, anymore. So you want to be careful on, how far you push that and whatnot. So, like I mentioned, the politics thing earlier, I would never make any political jokes, honestly. So, but yeah, just be fun.
Absolutely. And Chris, you should this comment on Amazon. Thank you for another comment and to being so engaging. Um, you should know your audience and the culture of our cultural differences. Yes, absolutely, because even it's a nice way to put things when you know good your audience and you know these cultural things, you can illustrate better the points you want to make, right?
Almost spoke on mute. 2021 in the house here. So yes, always kind of keep in mind, what are your points? What are you trying to get across? And that's, I think, one thing that's important to remember. So you probably noticed this a couple times here today when you asked me a question, and like, I don't want to say I'm a politician, but I am trying to get things back to what are we talking about, going live, right? So you can always answer everything in different ways, but currently we're talking about going live. How do you tie it all together? And that's one thing you want to keep in mind. So that doesn't mean you always have to be on your talking points. You can share other things, but you have to be interesting. You have to share it within context, but keep in mind, what are you going to talk about? Like, don't just go off. So for example, my kids are all in school currently, right? But let's say they weren't, or earlier, I don't know if you guys saw this when we started. We had my two cats back here. They were
Fighting. Yes.
And like, we totally could talk about that forever and ever. And I just decided I'll just let it go. And if there would have been a time, it would have been like, if nobody cares about this topic, you can watch my cats wrestling, and then they moved on to somewhere else. So, know what you want to talk about, know what you want to say, and go from there.
Absolutely, because there's this thing, and I think it's important. The main topic, and then we can make some parallel conversations, but keep in mind the main topic, because if we are creating too many distractions, I'm gonna give this example. When you are talking about something and you are cursing all the time, and people will take more attention to the curse you're saying, the bad words you're saying, that your main conversation, you're losing your audience, right?
Well, it depends who you ask on that topic. I'm a big believer in that you shouldn't curse too much or at all. I try not to. There's some people, they think that gets them attention. I disagree with that for the most part. I don't think it gets you the right, especially in a business sense. So I think we're to the point now, you can get away with wearing a hat and wearing a t-shirt on these live streams, and business people will still talk to you. That didn't used to be the case all the time either, right? It used to be like you have to dress up or whatever when you first started. But would a CEO talk to me if I'm on here cursing? Am I really setting the right example? Am I really showing the image I want to show? I would say no. And I don't think especially in North American culture, I don't think swearing is accepted when you go, especially on lives. And the other thing to keep in mind too is if you start swearing, now you have to mark all your content explicit, which my content isn't for kids anyways. I mean, why, like sometimes my kids walk in and they go, oh, boring, or whatever. But still, like, you don't want them to hear that necessarily. And so I have yet to hear a good argument to swear on a live stream, or in content for a company at all. Like, sometimes people paying attention. I'm like, yeah, but so could something else more relevant. So absolutely, I don't think it's. I think it's, yeah. Forget about it. So use your energy for something better.
Okay, perfect. And we can use our energy, for instance, to read your new book, right?
You can do that. Currently, the Kindle version is 99 cents. I think that's only in the US, 99 pennies in the
No,
UK.
it also I also get that promotion here in Portugal.
For 99 euros,
Uh,
99 cents,
cents,
99 cents.
dollar cents. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. So maybe it's available worldwide, 99 cents or pennies, not 99 euros. That would be kind of
A
pushing
little
my
bit.
luck here. It's definitely worth that, but you can get it for 99 cents. So check it out. The hardcover, it's available too. And special offer, if you are in the US, I'm happy to send you a signed copy for if you order it at paypal.me/ctrap/15. Happy to, if you order it there, but I can only send it in the US because
Yeah.
postage. Or signed copy.
One day you should come here and bring me a copy, a signed copy.
Well, so Marco, you can order a signed copy. You can order a copy from Amazon, a paper copy, a paperback copy, but I just can't sign it. So because
Ah.
the Europe copies, they ship from the UK, so you can get
Yeah, I
it.
see.
I just can't sign it.
Okay. Well, Christoph, thank you so much for your time. If you want to let a kind of a wrap up of why should people buy your book, feel free to do
Well, I
that.
mean, yeah, of course. So basically, think about how if you're going to do a podcast or a content marketing strategy, how are you going to maximize your efforts? And I think doing a podcast as a live stream, then you promote that, then you push it to the podcast, then you take the content from a podcast and you push it on your blog and other channels. It's just a way to really use all the content and throw it a parade, so to speak. Very helpful, very efficient, very effective. And I'll walk you through all the steps, how to do it, everything I've learned. There's technology involved, there's mindset involved, and there you go. Let's do it. Let's go live together. Let's share stories worth sharing, and get your brand in front of people.
Okay, perfect. We have Howard. You came. We are about to leave. You can see, watch the replay. Thank you for tuning in. So, Christoph, thank you so much. People, if you want to follow Christoph, I think it's very easy because if you just write down his name, he will appear.
Easy to find.
So, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Christoph, for your time. Next week, I will be back again to this Amazon live show. So stay tuned and don't forget to follow me up there on the computer and down there on the cell phone. So stay tuned. Bye bye. See you.
Thanks, Marco.